But yeah, moving forward a little bit. So how did you like decide that you wanted to do more than just be like a gamer that just watches from the sidelines? Like when did you were like, yo, you know what? I want to try to do something like this, man. Like just even like not even for like a living, just for fun. Like when did you decide you want to take it like further than just being a regular fan?
Yeah, so that's when I was originally saying 2005
Yeah.
with Godfrey, with Danny, because he was doing gamertag radio, and I always joke about it, but it's true. He would spam the Team Xbox forums to get people to listen to the show. And I was like, God, this dude's always posting on here. Damn. All right, fine. I'll listen. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Cause like he would get other people from the community in. And I think back then they used to do it via Xbox Live. They do like in the Halo party chat room or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And, he played the hip hop music and stuff on there. So, I would casually listen. And then when they did that, he got that scoop for the 360 reveal where he got like, I guess it was like PMS Clan or whatever. And all those people that went to that Hollywood event, he got them on before it aired on MTV. And they were talking about Perfect Dark and the launch games and all that stuff. And I remember he put it on the Team Xbox forum. So I hurried up and downloaded it to listen right away. Because remember, back then, there was no podcast, iTunes, none of that stuff existed, right? So I listened to it. And I guess Microsoft made him take it down like super quick, but I got to hear it. And I just thought that was the dopest shit ever. I was like, man, this is freaking amazing. Wow, I can't believe he got that. And then I would like just regularly listen to Gamertag Radio from that point. So then fast forward to 06, him and Chris Palladino, that was another friend. He did another podcast during that time. They were at Redmond up at Xbox for Lord of the Rings event, and they were on TV, like on video. I was like, holy shit, you get to go to Microsoft? You get to go to Xbox? Oh man, I got to do this. I remember, and I called my homeboy and I was like, yo, we got to do this podcast thing, man. Let's try and get in this podcast, this gaming thing. I go to these cats I listen to, they get to go to Xbox and all that. That sounds cool as hell. I got opinions too, right? So I reached out to Chris, I reached out to Danny, and Chris had got back to me right away, like literally the next day. And I remember it was a Saturday morning. He hopped on Skype. He walked me through the whole thing on how to do podcasting, the software to get everything. Danny, I didn't hear from his ass for like 3 weeks. He was on vacation. But he eventually hit us back too. Basically the same thing. Gave a bunch of advice, that whole stuff, like do this, do that. Because we did like a rough cut podcast. It freaking sucked, of course. But he's like, oh, it's good, but you ought to do this, you ought to do that. Check your levels on it, all this kind of stuff. So then I started my own podcast called like Uncle Gamer Radio, and that was, God, that had to been like June or July of 06.
Wow.
Right. And I did that, became good friends with Danny. We actually wound up meeting like face to face like a year later at an event in EA in LA. And we were just always friends. I was doing my thing, and we would kind of collab with each other, like during E3s and stuff, help each other out. I get to hook up on something or I hear a scoop, I would tell him, vice versa, he'd tell me, and we're always just good friends. And I did that, God, Uncle Gamer, until like 2011. And then my co-host, he took a job with EA, and I was like, I don't want to do it anymore because I was doing it solo. I had other co-hosts come in, it never clicked, and I was like, I'm done, I'm good. I've seen it all, right? So I retired, but I was still cool with Danny and Pete and Mandy and all them. And I remember BioShock Infinite came out, and I loved that game. And Danny asked me to come on Gamertag Radio. So this was like March of 2013, something like that. And I just came on just to talk about the game, right? And they got a ton of feedback saying, oh, they loved it. Oh, you should have Parris on more, blah, 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 blah. And then Pete was the one who maybe a few weeks later reached out. And I remember I was at my son and we were shopping at Sport Chalet or something, right? He hits me up. He was like, would you consider coming on full time? And I immediately said, no, I can't do that full time, man. No, I'm good. I can't commit to being full time. I come on every now and again, blah, 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 blah. And I remember got Danny on the call, and then I agreed to do that. Yo, I swear to you, they had a goddamn press release out like an hour later, like already up on the website, everything, saying I was joining Gamertag Radio. And even then I kept saying, I don't know if I can do it full time. And yo, other than unless I'm missing it because of an event or whatever, basically I've been on every week ever since, and it's been great, man. I mean, you obviously know we talk all the time, Tony, but I mean, it's myself, Danny, Pete, Mandy. I mean, it's just a family, man. All of us talk pretty much every day, every freaking day we talk. And it's just been a lot of fun, man, doing all the gaming stuff and getting to interview all the different people in the industry, go to these different events, review these games, do all that kind of stuff. And, it's just been growing and growing and growing. And then even though 2020 has been the most craziest goddamn year ever, I mean, the opportunities that have come this year it's been incredible, dude. It really has.
Yeah.
And,
yeah,
we just love it.
Yeah. You mentioned an EA event that you met Danny at. I got to ask you about that because you said like, oh, I got to do a podcast. Like, I got to go to these events. What was it like going to your first event? How did that feel like?
Okay. First event I went to, God, this had to been January, February of 2007. It was at Microsoft, ironically enough. So I've hit the effing jackpot. I've been doing this for less than a year and I've already reached the goal of what I wanted to do. I went to Microsoft and it was for Crackdown. And not only was it Crackdown, it was also that it wasn't the Halo beta, but we knew the Halo beta was going to be attached to Halo 3 beta. It was going to be attached to Crackdown. So my first event, went up to Redmond, nervous as hell, printed these whack ass business cards to hand out. Like, I shudder to think back then just how much I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But went up there, super excited. JVB, JVB was there. We hung out with JVB. And that's when I first started getting some of my initial connects in the industry, did the event, like I said, on Xbox campus. I remember we got a tour of like he's like, he works for Pokemon now, but he was the head of Xbox Live. Remember he took us on a tour.
Major Nelson, he was with they've started the Major Nelson podcast. And
I was gonna bring him up because Major Nelson was kind of our guide as well. Like when they went around the campus, we got to see like Xbox Live, like how all that stuff worked. It was wild, man. It was an amazing event. It was like my first time in Seattle, the whole thing. And I didn't know what I was doing. I would hate to go back and listen to that interview I did for Crackdown. I know it was terrible, but that was the start, man. And then that's when you get the itch. And that's when you're like, man, yeah, I really want to do this. And that, ironically enough, that event then got me some connects with people at EA, because then EA wound up inviting me out to Medal of Honor here in EA LA. And that's when I met Danny face to face for the first time. Right. And that was like my second event. That was like before E3 that year, because that was the Santa Monica E3. And then we just immediately clicked at that point. We just been tight ever since. But yeah, that first time is a trip, man, because you don't know what you're doing. You're super nervous. You just don't want to say nothing dumb. But of course, you're going to say something dumb because you don't know what you're doing. And yeah, like I said, I would hate to go back and look at myself then, because I would cringe the entire time. I go, dude, what are you doing? But it was an amazing experience, though, man. It was real cool.
Yeah, but it's also kind of cool though. If you do look back and cringe, you could say to yourself, like, the reason you're cringing is because you know how much better you've gotten over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But